Welcome to the Happy Doc, the voice of fulfilled physicians. This show is about bringing inspirational, creative, successful, and happy health professionals to you. Get ready to learn how you can be a happy doctor too. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Happy Doc. This is your host, Dr. Taylor Brana. And on the Happy Doc, we bring guests that we find who are inspirational, creative, interesting, and we truly believe that they are happy doctors. And our next guest is definitely a happy doc. Donna Corriel runs the Doctor on Social Media group on Facebook. It is one of the largest social media groups on Facebook, and it brings together thousands of physicians who are on social media. It is a fantastic group because you get to collaborate, comment, and learn about all these other doctors throughout the nation who are helping each other out, supporting one another, and it's just a really great group to be a part of. I was recently at a SoMeDocs, that's their hashtags, hashtag SoMeDocs, SoMeDocs Engage group here in Philadelphia, where I'm located. And it was so fun to interact with all these doctors who are doing social media, to get to know them, to learn from them. And it was so fun to have this group of like-minded individuals with me and learning from them. And it was so much fun. I think in medicine, often we get really isolated and we feel really stuck in our silos at work. But this was a way that we could all let loose and enjoy one another's company. So I'm very excited for what Donna's doing when it comes to SoMeDocs and really connecting people. And so I'm not going to belabor, this discussion too long, and I want you guys to listen to the episode. This episode's really interesting because we did it on Facebook Live, and it was really fun. So I hope you guys get a lot out of this conversation, as Donna is really a physician expert when it comes to social media. In this episode, the main points for this conversation are going to be, number one, an introduction of Donna. Number two, knowing your endpoint and know why you're using social media. Number three, understanding fear in social media use and the difference between imposter syndrome and the fear of exposure. Number four, how Donna leaving medicine for a period of time gave her an important look at connecting creativity with medicine. Number five, why social media scares Donna and why she still uses it. Number six, the risk and benefits of social media. Number seven, Donna extending digital connections to physical connections utilizing SoMeDocs Engage. And number eight, I have to just let you guys know, you can find Donna at Doctors on Social Media on Facebook, or you can search her Twitter handle at Dr. Corriel. That's at DrCorriel. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Happy Doc. I'm extremely excited to have Dr. Donna Corriel with us today. Before I have her say some words, we just had one crazy experience trying to record this episode. Super fun. We're actually doing this live, and we're also going to be recording this on the podcast. Donna, thank you so much for being with us today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here, Taylor.
Great. So just for some background, it might be helpful for the listeners who are not aware of you, if you could just kind of share a little bit about your medical background and what makes you a little bit more interesting than some of the other physicians out there.
All right. I'm a board certified internist. I practice up in Pearl River, New York in Rockland County. I have a unique background for many reasons, and I will try to keep the most relevant ones here on the show. And the bottom line is that I have strived to mix creativity with medicine. And I first began doing that when I actually took time away from medicine. And I think that really helped me to tap into my extremely creative side. And when I went back into medicine and started seeing patients again, I realized just how valuable that creative side was. And I wanted to find a way to mix the two. And so I've done that not only for myself in my own platforms, right? In my own brand. I've branded myself as Dr. Corriel, but also now work to help other physicians from all over, not only this country, but the world, to do the same. Because I think that healthcare is not about just me. I think healthcare is about like you and about all the other fabulous physicians that are on both the SoMeDocs platform that I've created, which we could talk about, and all the other movements that are going on that are just absolutely innovative and fabulous.
Yeah, and so, there's a few things I wanted to like highlight there. Creativity is so huge, and it's definitely something that we've found doing the Happy Doc, that a lot of the happier doctors, the more fulfilled physicians, they're doing something really creative. So I love that you're doing this. It makes a lot of sense. And then you mentioned a little bit about social media. So let's jump right into it. What's the big deal about social media?
Social media is huge. Social media is scary, especially to physicians in their traditional roles, to sort of stay away from some of the more public forums. But social media is the wave of the future. Social media is the vehicle of communication of today and of the future. And whether we like it or not, we need to take a more active role in it. And the reason I'm saying it is, again, not because I love it, I didn't create it, and I really actually fear it for my children. But as a business person, I think it's absolutely necessary to tap into. I think it is exactly how we need to reach our audience at this point. And I think, quite honestly, that we're a bit late to the game and that we need to find the perfect way to do that. And that's where we sort of serve an innovative role in taking a part in it.
Sure. And for my generation, it's kind of natural. I kind of like grew up with the internet age and all of those things. So let's give an example. We have a physician who is practicing. They see a lot of stuff on social media, maybe like on Twitter and Facebook. They're new to the game. They want to get started. Maybe they're consider even like starting their brand. What are some tips you kind of get people to get cozy and start to get comfortable with the medium?
Great question. So first and foremost, someone will sit in front of me at a conference where I'm there to help teach, and I ask them this one single question: is what is your endpoint? Because all of us have different endpoints, right? Some of us want to impact healthcare and change it. Mm-hmm. Some of us want to grow a voice on healthcare because we are in search of something outside of medicine. We want to beat burnout. Others of us, we want to squash pseudoscience. Others want to promote their practice and get more patients in. And there's endless of possibilities out there. And that's what makes social media so fabulous. And just the virtual world in general is endless in the possibilities that it presents for us. So the first and foremost thing that you need to consider is, what are you looking for? Because as soon as you define that and make that clear, that's when you can then start taking these small stepping stones to achieving that success at the end, right? At the end of the rainbow, you need to take those little baby steps up. So that's something that's really important to do. And then as soon as you define that, what your endpoint is, then you need to find the best way to get to that endpoint. And a virtual presence is usually really helpful to whatever endpoint you want. And it actually can help no matter what it is that you want to reach. So that's the first thing I stress. And then we need to then dissect the different steps that you need to take to get there. And a lot of that involves social media.
Great. I love it. And so what are some of the things, like you mentioned, fear plays a role into a lot of this?
Huge.
What are some of the things you're hearing in terms of fear and social media?
Huge. I hear so many things. Number one, imposter syndrome. I can't add any. Just a few minutes ago, someone messaged me. You have something to add to the conversation. First of all, we're doctors. First of all, we've got medical degrees. We are experts in our fields, right? So I'm an internist. I'm an expert in internal medicine. I'm board certified. I passed the test. My husband's a cardiologist. He is an expert in cardiology. I guarantee that there's something he has to add to the equation. The same with you. You're in psychiatry, and so you can add something to that equation, right? We have medical degrees. We have things that others don't. Not to say we're better, just to say we've spent many, many years and a lot of money and time and sweat and tears to be where we are today. And it is wonderful to share that with people. So that's number one, is fear. The next thing, did I say fear or did I say imposter syndrome? Because they're actually different.
Imposter syndrome.
Syndrome. The other thing is fear, right? Fear of exposure. I'm guilty because I fear these kinds of things. I fear live. I hate how I look. I don't like how I sound. I hate the podcast. But you know what? It's somewhat of a service that I do to both the community and my patients in so many ways. So take one way, right? Pseudoscience. It's out there. The community is now not vaccinating. I just posted on my Facebook page. You can find it on Dr. Corriel. I just posted about the measles outbreak and the fact that in Europe, there's about 37 deaths already taking place. Where I practice in Rockland County, there's a measles outbreak, and it's plain and it's simple. We're not vaccinating. And it's okay. I'm not here to argue about vaccinations. There's so many things I could cover. But the bottom line is, if we're not out there teaching people on social media, then it's the fear that is instilled in people, because there are others that are out there speaking non-scientific truth or just talking about things that may not be true, may be true sometimes and may not be true other times. But we need to put ourselves into that mix.
Right. I mean, and you have this, the unique thing that we have is we have not only the studies and those types of things, but we also have the experience, right? So you're not just saying stuff like, for example, vaccines. You're not just saying we want to give people vaccines because we think it works. We want to give vaccines because we've seen that those who don't get vaccinated actually come in with these diseases, and it's very concerning. And that's the type of experiential learning that as a physician you get. And if you're in the general population, you're just not going to see it. So there's kind of like this separation there, right? And I don't want to get into a whole conversation of vaccines and everything, but yeah. And so you can offer your 2 cents. The other thing I hear about social media, and I'm sure you can comment on this as well, is with that imposter syndrome. It, like a lot of people, like in business, for example, they'll post videos and pictures of them with the really nice cars, and they have stacks of cash and all this stuff, but really they don't have the cars, and really they don't have the cash. And so they're fronting, and they're showing off the stuff they don't have. And I know a lot of people fear, like they don't feel like the expert yet. But another comment I hear a lot is, well, you don't have to be the expert. You can just show your process, the process of whatever it is you're doing. Correct?
Not only that, but I think that doing this, having a virtual presence, can actually make you grow. And believe it or not, it can actually help you to discover, right, what you're an expert in. I mean, when I started this, I didn't consider myself I still don't, there's certain things I know and certain things I don't. I'd admit to it. But doing this has been amazing in terms of its transformational ability. And so doors open that you never imagined can open when you take on a virtual presence, and you get to have such incredible networking abilities and connections. And I don't think there's another platform available to us in such an ease of connecting to others in this country and in this world. So the group that I grew is fantastic in that I literally have gotten to know so many other physicians exactly in my boat that are looking to make a difference in this world, and that are so talented and just are trying to learn how to bring their talents out so that others can follow them and they can sort of change healthcare.
Right. Absolutely. So let's jump into SoMe Docs. I don't think we've really defined it yet for the people who don't know. So what is SoMe Docs and your movement, what you've created?
So the reason we call it SoMe Docs is because we decided to make an extremely short name so that we could brand it in that way. SoMe Docs stands for Doctors on Social Media. That's how you can find it. Originally, I created it as a Facebook group that was a hidden group, and it is physician only on Facebook. We hashtagged it SoMe Docs. So 1 second, I hashtagged it SoMe Docs, so it would be a very short and succinct way of finding it on different platforms. And it started out as a Facebook group. It has grown tremendously. We have over 2,200 active members. We have been covered on media outlets. I'm writing a news article for a big Condé Nast magazine on it. So that's fabulous. We were just recently featured on Gastro and Endo News, which was amazing. We got a lot of gastro and it was incredible. And now we're actually we're reaching out we're branching out to other platforms. And so you'll find us, our work hashtagged across LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, even Pinterest by typing in hashtag #SoMeDocs. And it's not just my work, it's everyone's work. There's so many people out there using the hashtags and starting to follow our physicians, which is fabulous. And I also created a second group that was meant to include everybody so that people wouldn't feel like they're being excluded from a group just because they're not physicians. There are other doctors in other fields that are experts. Like there's doctors that are dentists and doctors that are right? There are doctors of optometry. And there's other doctors in other fields, and they can join the Medicine Connect group. That's sort of a newer concept. I have a lot of other experts, and I have a lot of journalists and media personnel in that, starting to get wind of that. So that's Medicine Connect on Facebook.
Sure. So there was something you had said earlier in there. You said these results from doing this thing that you couldn't have imagined, right? So I always call it the intangible results of putting yourself out there. So you mentioned a few of those, but we talked about fear. You're concerned that like you putting yourself out there, being on social media, like putting yourself on Facebook, creating this group, it could be scary. But then you've had some intangible results from that, the things that you couldn't have imagined and now that are coming to you from this. What are some of those intangible results?
Great question. Let's see if I can list them all. So much. First of all, I've got more patients in my practice, and I really don't advertise much about it in my practice. I try to keep it separately. It's important for me legally, but it isn't free advertisement for me. So I have patients coming in who say to me, I love it. I just randomly found your stuff across social media platforms. They say to me, I feel so connected to you. I feel like you're a human. You're tangible, right? I could follow what you're doing outside of practice. So that's A. The other ways that it's opened doors is, for example, I would never dream that Medical Economics would name me as one of the top 10 internists to follow on Twitter in 2018. Amazing. Another intent, thank you. I mean, it's not, I'm not saying it to toot my horn. I'm saying it to point out that little old schmo me, right? A doctor practicing in Pearl River, New York has earned this. And so another intangible, just all of these, speaking engagements that I get to help other doctors and help create this platform. I never thought I would do this. I was just at Harvard as guest faculty in the career advancement and women in leadership in healthcare. Yeah, and it was wonderful. And I was just last year and again invited back to Harvard thanks to Julie Silver, one of my inspirational doctors that I look up to. I'm going back as guest faculty for the writing, publishing, and social media for healthcare professionals in June, where I get to teach other doctors and other healthcare professionals in general how to do this. Another door that's open just locally. The dentists are asking me, right, next month, or not next month, I think it's in a week. They're asking me to come speak to them and teach the dentists out there how to do this. So many open doors, and so many healthcare professionals are now realizing the value in putting yourself out there on social media.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. And so those are some of the results that you're getting from that. But it started from like the seed, right? Like you told us before in your story, you had this like span of time in your career where you weren't working as a physician, you wanted to be more creative. So can we kind of like, I really like, we got that future aspect of you. You already got the results, but let's like take a step back. Like what was that moment where you're like, let's get creative, let's do something interesting? What happened there?
It's a great question. It was not working and not having the stress. I can't stress enough what being a physician is like. It overwhelms you. It takes over your life. Being a full-time physician and a parent, just being a physician, you don't even need to be a parent. It overwhelms you. So you've got no extra space in yourself, in your being, for taking on anything other than healthcare and medicine. And so it really stifles physicians. I really feel like it stifles us. So the second I stopped working and decided to give other things a chance, and at first it came in the form of motherhood, right? In all honesty, I stopped working because I wanted to be mom to my kids. We could do a whole podcast on that, right? But when I started getting a grasp on being a parent and felt comfortable there, I started exploring other aspects to life that I just never had time to explore, right? So little things that you really take for granted day to day, like cooking and like baking and like colors and textures and painting and decorating. I started engaging in that. I started like putting my mind to work in things that used the other side of my brain. And I started seeing that I had talent for it. Like I was actually creative and I was doing things that people were appreciating and that I was appreciating. I was giving myself self-satisfaction. And I was like, oh my God. But then I said to myself, what am I doing? I'm a physician. I literally spent 30 years of my life earning a medical degree and I'm refinishing furniture. That's where I was at one point in my life. And so I went back into medicine, but I said, I will never let go of this other side of me that's creative. I'm going to somehow find a way to mix the two together. And then at some point I said, let me bring other physicians in and teach them how to do that as well.
Yeah. So you took that creativity that you noticed you're working that right brain, and you found that gave you a sense of joy and exploration that you might not have been able to find at all in that sort of left-sided logical physician way. And then you took it the next step and you combined those things and you still have your creativity and you're still a physician. How has that changed the feeling of your practice? Do you find that it makes you a better doctor?
Completely.
Completely. What do you think has changed once you've kind of combined those parts of you?
I think it helps to beat burnout. So it makes me a happier person. When you're a happier person, you're a happier doctor. It's the same as a parent, right? When you're self-fulfilled, when you give yourself the time, and you're happy, then you exude that happiness and you make those connections better. It's the same with my patients. I always tell them that, especially the caretakers in my patients. I tell them if you're taking care of someone and all you're doing is investing in them, you can't give them the best that you can if you're not taking care of yourself. You can't give others if you're not happy yourself. So that's where it is. It's a self-fulfillment when you do something outside of medicine that you love. It's your passion and your calling. So that's number one. But I honestly think that tapping into creativity makes us better physicians. It allows us to almost like open up to different dimensions and be there for our patients because we communicate on like a different level with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that answer. What are some unexpected things that have come out of you doing SoMe Docs and opening up yourself to all of this stuff?
Ooh, I'm trying to think how to best answer that and what direction I should even take it because there's positives and there's negatives. It's not easy. I don't want anyone looking to say, "Wow, she's like so cool" because she makes it look so easy. It's been super hard for me. It's isolating. So that's one thing I can say. It's isolating. I have to work extra hard to make sure that I have a social circle that's active and complete, because when you put yourself out there, it's still a virtual platform. It's almost faceless. I know we're looking at each other now, right? But Facebook, it's almost ironic because it's faceless, right? It's just words. It's isolating when you get cyberbullied and you get threats. It is hurtful and it is hard. So, I think that's an eye opener that needs to be discussed, because I think that any physician looking to tackle it, and especially those physicians that are actually doing it, and are suddenly feeling like, whoa, this is like too much for me, just know that you're not alone. Even someone like me who is reaping the benefits of doing this, right? It's hard for me on a daily basis to do it. What gives me energy is my live family is number one. Parents who love me, a husband who loves me, children who love me. That's number one. But number two, a social circle and a real life interactions, which is, by the way, why I'm taking SoMe Docs to another level, which is the live aspect, right? We have this background, this Facebook like closed circle that's virtual, but I'm also taking it out. I'm going to be meeting you soon, and I'm going to be meeting other physicians, which is fabulous in real life.
Yeah. And what you're speaking to is, I read it in a book, but essentially what it is right now, there's a few things happening. The amount of connections that we've had, like on a planet level, like the people that we can totally trust ourselves with, has decreased significantly. I mean, if you even look back, like, at 100 years ago, when you didn't have internet, you were forced to go outside. You're forced to go into your community. You're forced to go to the store. And so there are a lot more collisions and interactions with people.
Yes.
And so now that we've had internet, it kind of isolates us. So we have this like pseudo social interaction. Like even right now, technically we're talking live, but we're really not next to each other. And there is that, and you know this too, like there is a disconnect between a virtual conversation versus that physical touch and energy that you can sit with someone with. So
we need it. So, I mean, we need it. Again, and people think it's so strange when I say this, but just to be honest with you, I don't like social media. I actually think it scares the hell out of me. All you have to do is watch a few episodes of Black Mirror, right? If you watch Black Mirror, the future in AI, it's scary because this is like computers. I'm scared. But, and for that reason, by the way, in all honesty, I limit my children and the electronics and the ability to use social media. I limit them, even though I use it. Am I being a hypocrite? Absolutely not. I'm using this for my business. I'm not using this necessarily to socialize. Now, I have socialized. I have made so many friends and contacts through it. So networking wise, business wise, it's important. Mm-hmm. But I would never, ever recommend that you replace your real life touch and the people that are real. Because sometimes you could tell just being in a room with someone if they're authentic and what they're about and what they mean and their real essence comes through much more when they're face to face and physical.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think like what you kind of said was you want to use the social media and the internet and all those things as a tool and not let the tool run you. And yes. I think like you could probably talk about too, but like there's definitely an addictive quality to it. So we have to be cognizant that you still have this like natural life. You should still go outside in nature. You should still have friends. You should still enjoy socializing and being with people. But at the same time, like, I mean, you could talk about this, the reach that you can do by recording something and putting it out there is just crazy.
It's a double-edged sword, bottom line. It really is a double-edged sword. And I talk about this on my blog. I call it a social media cleanse. It's so important. I mean, I utilize social media in the virtual world to basically get all the success that I've had. And success is a relative term. For me, it's a success. But it is a double-edged sword. So I myself need to use these cleanses, right? I call it the like number one cleanse that I advise as a physician, because I don't necessarily believe in all the cleanses that are out there. I think there's a lot of BS out there. But the bottom line is, this is a cleanse that actually works, is a virtual cleanse where you do take some time apart, whether it's on a regular basis, like every night when you get home and you just disconnect because you need to give your family face-to-face time or yourself some me time that's not virtual. Or even down to a physical level where it, like, your eyes can actually be damaged by being on social media nonstop. There are actual health risks to using the virtual world nonstop. And so, a lot of different health issues.
Yeah. So not to get too personal, but I used to get really bad headaches and migraines in the hospital a lot because, you're typing and you're looking at the screen and all that stuff.
Of course.
And I got these blue light glasses.
Interesting.
And they're like, I found like some online, they're like $20 online, and my headache stopped, my migraines stopped. And actually, I mean, not to say that it's a good thing, but I can stare at a screen longer and it doesn't hurt it as much.
You'd be surprised how many patients are affected by this sleep-wise. I mean, insomnia is one of the number one complaints in a primary care office. I'm an internist, so I see this all the time. Insomnia. And people don't realize that the light that is emitted from their computer screens and their iPads and all of their electronics, it basically doesn't allow you to fall asleep.
Yeah. That makes so much sense.
Yep.
So we're kind of talking about something that I think this poses a question. There's risks and benefits to social media, right? So, like, what are your best practices of utilizing social media, but also not letting it run you? I mean, you mentioned some of those things, but like, this is your field. Like, how are you going to recommend? It's kind of like this weird thing. How are you going to recommend doctors on social media, but also it's not good for you? So how do you find that balance?
It's such a good question. It's kind of like going over a risk versus benefit with a medication, right? With a patient. And by the way, this is off the cuff, just so that your audience knows, so that I'm not prepared for this. When I have all my writing and everything, I proofread it like 70 times. Right. Risk versus benefits. Listen, the benefit is, it's indescribable. The reach is just, you can have a reach that's in the millions. You can impact healthcare. You can impact healthcare globally. You can have such an impact locally. You can have an impact globally. So the benefits are, it's unimaginable, the things that you can accomplish. So those are the benefits. And the risks are that, again, you've got health issues and you've got issues of isolation. And so the best way, I say that you can approach this is just to put aside some time and to put limits on what you do. So if you find yourself using it too much, maybe you could define what you think is acceptable. You can have like a certain amount of time set aside for it. Another way to accomplish that is to, if you can afford it, then you can, of course, hire out some of that. And so there are companies now that are offering help in that terms. And by the way, SoMeDocs, my group that I've started, I'm forming it into a platform for services. I'm bringing on companies and people that I trust in order to bring us all to the next level that can help us work in various aspects of getting our work out there. So like an SEO optimization service and a service that even helps us to create Instagram photos and Facebook posts. And so delegating out is an extremely helpful way to keep your sanity while you're tackling a virtual presence.
Yeah. No, that outsourcing part, it makes a lot of sense. Actually, I'll just give you an example with us. I'm not that big. I love the live kind of interaction, conversational stuff, but I'm not necessarily as big at going online and commenting on lots of stuff and replying. It's not that I don't want to, and I do sometimes. It's just it's very difficult for me, as a person. But then on my team, Neil really enjoys doing that type of interaction.
Right. Neil's great.
And we love Neil. Neil's actually watching right now, and he's been commenting a lot too.
Oh, I don't see it. Okay, I don't see it.
Yeah. No, but
right.
yeah. So, but with Neil, he loves doing that. So
one of the things I can add to this, and actually it's a good place to bring it up, is yes, it's a team mentality. And so first of all, that's the motto of the SoMeDocs group, is collaboration and not competition. We're not here to compete one another. And we could actually touch on that in a second, because I think it's a super important point to point out. And that's what makes us a little bit unique when compared to other platforms out there. So that's A. But B, the fact that I have taken on some help in this idea that I had. And Shika Jane is a wonderful addition to the SoMeDocs family. And she is helping me to moderate the Facebook group. And then the other thing is these new leaders that have stepped up in the live sector. We want to take SoMeDocs live to all these almost like mastermind groups. I'm calling it SoMeDocs Engage. And SoMeDocs Engage is that next level where we're taking it to the physical meetups. And these masterminds need leaders in different parts of the country, because I'm not physically there. I'm here near New York City, and I will be happy to talk to anyone that's near New York City in person. But other people need to step up to help me to grow this, so that we can all grow our voice and amplify.
Yeah, I loved everything that you said. And as I'm hearing it, what I would say is anyone who's listening to this who is active on social media and wants to really get their voice out there, SoMeDocs has just been such a really great platform. Personally, I see, for example, Donna will post something about podcasts. Who here has a podcast and wants to share it? And just through her page, I've had 7 people reach out to me and saying, hey, I would love to be, interviewed on your podcast. Let's say you're doing a Twitter feed or a Facebook group or whatever, Donna, you're saying, collaboration, her page is about collaborating and helping you help yourself. So it's that really collective sort of feel when it comes to your group. The other term that I want to bring up, because Neil actually, I don't know if he coined it, but you might find this term interesting. It's called co-opetition, which is you don't compete against people. You might playfully watch what they're doing, because it kind of oh, they're doing this, well, I'm going to do this. It's cooperative competition in that you're not fighting them. It's more so like, I see that you're doing a great job and I want to do a better job too.
What a beautiful word. Did he make that up? Did he coin that?
I'm going to see. Neil, did you make
That's
co-opetition?
awesome.
Did you
Did
make
he
co-opetition?
Let me know. I can't see the comment.
Yeah, I'm trying to see here.
Yeah. If he
But
made, that's wonderful. And I love the concept. That's exactly what I try to teach other physicians is that we're not in medical school anymore, right? We used to be on a curve. If someone else, even if you did well, you could still get a bad grade if everybody did well, right? And if you were on the bottom of doing well, it was all relative.
yeah.
Here it's different because we each shine, right? I am super confident with what I could bring to the table. I've got my talents.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm confident like this, no one threatens me. I'm confident with my personal life too. And I always say this. I say, if this all ended tomorrow, all this social media stuff that I'm doing, I would still be a happy person because I've got these extracurriculars. I've got the creativity factor that needs for this self-fulfillment that I have.
Yeah.
And that keeps us happy. That's perfect for the happy doc.
Yeah, no, I love it. And you're kind of talking about this point of just owning yourself. Like you're owning what you're doing. If things don't work out, it's fine. We're also kind of talking about play a little bit, like just enjoying that process and having some fun with it. Neil also said that he did not coin the term.
Okay.
He said, I'm an artist, so I stole it.
Oh, I love it. Good for him. Just using it is awesome. And he's great.
Okay, great. So, I mean, I think we've talked a lot about, social media, its importance, some of your plans in terms of engagement, some of the rules, like the risks and benefits, and some of your tips. A couple of questions before we kind of hop off for today. What do you think makes a happy doctor?
So many things make you happy. It's such a personal thing. I think tapping into your needs and fulfilling those needs makes you happy. I think it's simple, like it's simplified a bit, but I think that's the truth. If you really look inside and you think about what makes you a happy person, I think we're all unique. We just all have different things that make us happy. I just happen to love board games, right? So a night of board games with friends makes me happy. And it may sound like it's so boring to some of you guys, but it makes me happy. So tapping into what makes you a happier person and then spending the time doing it.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah.
Who inspires you, or who are some individuals that inspire you?
So many individuals. So, I mean, all the physicians on the platform inspire me. All of the work that doctors do, the brave voices out there that are either like, for example, fighting vaccines or fighting with the hashtag This Is Our Lane, and everybody that puts together conferences. Julie Silver's fabulous from Harvard. She has not only given a platform for so many of us, but has believed in us, and has elevated others in her path. And gender equity, in her fight for gender equity. My husband inspires me. He's fabulous. He doesn't have any role on social media, but he works excuse my language, but he works his ass off to help people in cardiology. Who else inspires me? My family inspires me. Just everybody around you can inspire you in various aspects. So, but the physicians out there do. You inspire me. Everybody inspires me in what they do.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And we actually had a comment here from Mike Sevilla. I hope I'm pronouncing it.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
He's on social media. Sure.
Yeah. And he said, this interview made me happy. Well done all.
That's
so he really liked listening to it.
I appreciate that.
Okay. So to close this out, how can, it's pretty obvious, but how can people find you?
Right. So I write regularly on my own platform. I am branded under the same social media handle at Dr. Corriel. That's DrCorriel. I'm that across platforms. I have a website called drcorriel.com. That's easy to find me. Now you can join you could join the group if you're a physician. Join SoMeDocs by typing in doctors on social media on Facebook. And then if you're a non-physician, you could join in on the conversation too by joining the Facebook group Medicine Connect, or by finding us all over social media by hashtagging SoMeDocs, SoMeDocs.
Beautiful. And as part of the podcast, we always put everything on our show notes, so that will be available. And Donna, thank you so much for your time. That was amazing.
Okay, thank you so much for having me.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Happy Doc podcast, the voice of fulfilled physicians. If you enjoyed the episode, please drop us a like, comment, and share. Share us through the social media channels we have on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The handle is at Happy Doc Podcast. That's at Happy Doc Podcast. You can find our website at www.thehappydoc.com. Again, thank you so much for listening to the Happy Doc, the voice of fulfilled physicians.